What's up, everybody? We're Mel here for another classic review. And today I'll be talking my thoughts on this sort of film. I kind of forgot this film back in October when I was doing my, spooky month reviews. And people told me, I got a couple of friends who told me, like, wait, Melvin, why don't you do this, every month? Because there are a lot of other channels who do reviews on mostly creepy content, mostly cartoons with creepy backstories, stories, I was like, good point. So I'll be talking about my thoughts on Disney's. This one you might know what I'm talking about. The Black Cauldron. First released back in 1985. And this has to be the most underrated animated Disney film. And this is from the dark age, of Disney. You got the Golden Age, Silver Age. This is the Dark Ages. Which is, the dark age around the 80s, without Walt Disney's guidance, But yeah, this has to be the most underrated film, but it's still a good film to watch. Around October. But before we begin, did you subscribe? Did you hit the bell? If so, you found the Black Cauldron. What you gonna do with it? Destroy it? Or abuse it? Make your wise decision. If you make the wrong one, you'll live to regret it. So yeah, The Black Cauldron is a dark animated fantasy film produced by Walt Disney Production and associated with Silver Screen Partners 2 and released by Walt Disney Pictures. This is the 25th Disney animated feature film. It is loosely based on the first two books of The Chronicles of Prydain by Lloyd Alexander, a series of 5 novels that are, in turn, based on the Welsh mythology. This is set in the mythical land of Prydain during the early Middle Ages. The film centers on a wicked emperor known as the Horned King, who hopes to secure the ancient magical cauldron that will aid him in his desires to conquer the world. He is opposed by a young swineherder named Taryn, the young princess Eloise, the harp-playing bard Feuder Flam, and a friendly wild creature named Gurgi. I say he's the furry version of shit, I forgot this character from Lord of the Rings. You know which one I'm talking about. Shit, I forgot his name. Who seeks to destroy the cauldron to prevent the Horned King from ruling the world. The film is directed by Ted Berman and Richard Rich, who had directed Disney's previous animated films, The Fox and the Hound, and was the first Disney animated film to be recorded by Dolby Stereo. Disney acquired the film rights to the books in 1973, and which production began in the 1980s. To be set for Christmas of 1984 release. During the production, it has served a severe editing process, particularly for its climactic sequence, which proved to be disturbing for 2 children. Oh, boo-hoo. The newly appointed Walt Disney chairman, Jeffrey Katzenberg, ordered those scenes to be cut, fearing that it would alienate children. As a result, it was delayed to 1985. It features the voice of Grant Bardsley, Susan Streeton, Freddie Jones, Nigel Hawthorne, Arthur Mallet, John Biner, Phil Fondacaro, John Hurt, and was narrated. The narration of the film is provided by the famed actor and director John Huston, which, aka, if you know who John Huston is, he is the father of famed actress Angelica Houston, aka the Grand High Witch, aka Morticia Addams. Yeah. It was the first Disney animated film to receive a PG rating, as well as the first Disney animated film to feature computer-generated imagery. The film was distributed theatrically throughout to Buena Vista Distribution on July 24th of 1985 with mixed reviews, with critics voicing disapproval of its dark nature and disjointed writing. Though the animation, soundtrack, and voice acting were praised, being the most expensive anime film ever made at the time, it bombed at the box office, only grossing $21 million against a budget of $44 million, putting the future of Disney animation department in jeopardy. Because of its commercial failure, Disney did not release the film on home media until 1998. It has since gained a cult following. Yeah. This film has been, a lot of people have talked about it, including, I think, Nostalgia Critic talked about this film a lot. And there were others, including, I think, Defunct Land also talked about this, the history of the process of the Black Cauldron, including what happened. I think there were some people who worked on the film, if I recall. I think Don Bluth was in this project, including Tim Burton. I don't know. I don't remember. I think Don Bluth and Tim Burton were working on this film before I think it was before Don Bluth left to make films with Steven Spielberg. And Tim Burton, well, a little around until he got fired by Disney. Let's see, as for the production, Walt Disney Production opted Lloyd Alexander's 5-volume series in 1971, and pre-production work began in 1973 when the film rights to Alexander's book were finally obtained. According to Ollie Johnston, he and Frank that convinced the studio to produce the film, and that if it had done properly, it might be as good as Snow White. I would agree. With all the cuttings and the screw up, of course it might be good as Snow White. But of course you have idiots who don't know how it works. It's the audience to decide, not you. Because of numerous storylines and with over 30 characters in the original series, several story artists and animators worked on the film's development throughout the 1970s. When The Rescuers was completed, The Black Cauldron was tentatively scheduled to be released in 1980. Veteran artist Mel Shaw created inspirational conceptual pastel sketches, which future Disney president and CEO Ron Miller considered to be too advanced for the newly hired animators. Therefore, by August of 1978, the studio had pushed its release date back to Christmas of 1984 due to their inability to animate realistic humans characters. Its original release date was later assumed by The Fox and the Hound in 1981. During its development limbo, storyboard artist Vance Gary was selected to create the beat storyboards that would outline the plot, action, and location. Having established the 3 principal characters, Gary adapted the Horned King into a big-bellied Viking who had a red beard, fiery temper, and wore a steel helmet and 2 large horns. That would be weird. Meanwhile, the studio hired Rosemary Ann Seaton as the desired and experienced British screenwriter for the film. Yeah, since the story based on Welsh mythology, of course you have somebody from the British Isles. Animator John Musker was the film's initial director, having been offered the position by production head Tom Wilhite. As director, Musker was assigned to expand several sequences in the first act, but eventually deemed too comedic. He explained, "The older people I was working with didn't like any of my ideas." When the production of The Fox and the Hound wrapped, several feature animation directors, Art Stevens, Richard Rich, Ted Benman, and Dave Mechner became involved in The Black Cauldron. When Mill decided too many people were involved, he decided Stevens was not appropriate to supervise the project, so he contacted Joe Hale, who was longtime layout artist at Disney Studios, to serve as producer. With Hale as producer, actual production of the Black Cauldron officially began in 1980. He tossed out visual art, character artwork submitted by Tim Burton. Yeah. He actually tossed out visual character artwork submitted by Tim Burton because they're too dark. Along with Rich and Berman, they start a Sleepy Beauty style approach. Both directors brought Milt Kyle out of retirement to create new character designs for Terran, Illinois, Feudor Flam, and the other principal characters. Hale and the story team included two story artists, David Jonas and Al Wilson, that he added. Heavily revised the film, by which they capsulized the story of the first two books. They also made some considerable changes, which led to Cision's departure as she developed creative differences with Hale and the director. Yeah, that was a bad move for those two idiots. The animators John Musker and Ron Clements, also citing creative differences, were removed from the project and began development on The Great Mouse Detective. Fun fact, this film actually saved the Disney Animation Studio. This one. A mouse saved this. Not Mickey. This one. The detective. Displeased with Gary Concept for the Horn King, he turned the Horn King into a thin creature donning a hood and carrying a spectral presence with a shadowed face and glowing red eyes. His role was then expanded into compensated villain of several characters from the books. Terra and Italy eventually acquired elements of the past designs and costumes of early Disney characters, especially the latter, who was drawn to resemble Princess Aurora from Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, if you look at her with Aurora, it looks like her during her teen years instead of her adult years. Hey, that awkward, ain't it? According to Musker, Gary Brookford of MASH fame had auditioned as Gurgi. He tried numerous vocal iterations since Ted Berman had an idea how the character should sound like. Yeah, now I remember who was the character from Lord of the Rings, Gollum. Now I remember. Have to read that, damn. Back to saying, had no idea what the characters would sound like. After 3 hours, the director grew frustrated and Bergeroff, who had refused to leave, was thrown out of the studio. By 1982, John Briner, an impressionist, had been cast in the part. Shit. After Briner was shown the character concept of Gurgi, he felt inspired to add a child's inflection when creating the voice. In January of 1981, Haley Mills stated she was being considered for the voice of Elway. Same year, Mills hosted an episode of NBC's Disney's Wonderful World, in which she met with Hale and the director discussed the part. The role eventually went to Susan Sheridan. According to Sheridan, she recorded her voice on 3 separate trips to Disney Studios in a 3 Disney Channel special titled Backstage of Disney. Hale stated that Jonathan Winters was voicing King Edeling. The role eventually went to Arthur Millet. And here comes the good juicy part. The test screening. Quinn, the worst part, the editing. Ugh. Shortly before the film's initially planned in 1984, they had a test screening for a rough cut of The Black Cauldron. Was held at the studio's private theater in Burbank, California. After the film, particularly the climax, the Cauldron Born sequence, proved to be too intense and disturbing for the majority of the children in the audience, most who ran out of the theater in terror before even it was finished. The newly appointed Disney Studio chairman, Jeffrey Katzenberg, ordered certain scenes from the cauldron to be cut as a result of the length of the length and the fear that their nature would alienate children, since the animated film was generally edited in storyboard from using laser reels, later known as animatics. The storyboard shot sequence and set to temporary audio tracks. Producer Joel Hale objected to Katzenberg's demands. Katzenberg responded by having the film brought into an editing bay and edited the film himself. Fuck. Informed of what Katzenberg was doing by Hale, the newly appointed CEO, Michael Eisner, called Katzenberg in the editing room and convinced him to stop. So he did what Eisner insisted. Katzenberg requested that the film to be modified and delayed its scheduled Christmas schedule of '84, released by July of 1985, so the film could be reworked. The film was eventually cut by 12 minutes, and the existing scenes rewritten and reanimated for continuity. Many of the deleted scenes involved extended character directions, but other edits involved violent content, including the undead Cauldron Born, who are used as the Horn King's army in the film's final act. While most of the scenes were seamlessly removed from the film, of course, the Cauldron sequence contains rather recognizable lapse because the removal of the scenes of the Cauldron Born mauling the henchmen, as well as one of them dissolved by the mist, creates a jump in the film's soundtrack. Yeah. I remember saying there's actually a ink and paint cell of that scene of one of the Cauldron Born biting one of the henchmen, and they start to decay rapidly, like quick. Nothing but bones and ash. There's no scene of that. That's the only thing we have, that ink cell. Which of course is kind of sad. But of course, people these days. If it wasn't a Disney film, it would be pretty good. As for the animation, invented by David W. Spencer from the studio's still camera department, the animation photo transfer process, or APT or APT, was first used for the Black Cauldron, which would enhance the technology by which the rough animation would be processed onto celluloid. First, the rough animation would be photographed on high contrast lithographic film, and the resulting negative would be copied onto the plastic cell sheets that would transfer lines and the colors, which eventually eliminate the high inking process. However, as the APT transferred, the line art would fade off of the cell over time. Most of the film's animation was done using xerographic process, which has been used at Disney since the 1950s. Spencer would win a Technical Academy Award for this process, but the computer would soon render the APT process obsolete. The Black Cauldron is notably for being Disney's first animated feature film to incorporate computer-generated imagery. Is the animation bubble for bubbles, a boat, a floating orb of light, and the cauldron itself. Though the Black Cauldron was released a year before The Great Mouse Detective, both films were production simultaneously for some time, and the computer graphics for the latter were done first. When producer John Hale heard about what was being done, the possibilities made him excited, and he made the crew from The Great Mouse Detective project create some computer animation for his own film. For other effects, animator Don Paul used live-action footage of dry ice mist to create the steam and smoke coming out of the cauldron. As for the soundtrack, unlike most Disney animated films, the film did not contain any songs. The score is composed and conducted by Elmer Bernstein. He used the Under's Manto note to build upon the dark mood of Pride Dane, and instruments he used in Trading Places from 1983 and Ghostbusters 1984. Due to the last-minute revision, most of Bernstein's scores were cut from the film. In its minority, the score was re-recorded for an album original release by Varese Sarabande in 1985. Was the composer conducting the Utah Symphony Orchestra. The album soon fell out of print, and many of the film's tracks did not resurface until a bootleg copy entitled Tehran was supplied to soundtrack specialty outlets in 1986. The film tracks received their premiere release in 2012 as part of the Entrada Records partnership with Walt Disney Records to issue several Disney film soundtracks. On its initial release, the film became Disney's first Disney film to receive a PG rating by the MPA, or Motion Pictures Association. It was presented in the Super Technorama 70, the first since Sleeping Beauty, and Dolby Stereo 70mm 6-track surround sound. The film's initial theatrical release was accompanied by the Donald Duck short Chips Ahoy! Not the cookie, the cartoon. The film was re-released in 1990 in selected market under the title Tehran and the Magic Cauldron. Hold 1 second. Sorry about that. When I hear somebody make some stupid name, a mysterious raspberry appears. Jesus. As for the boxes, well, yeah, you know, it went bomb. It bombed on its first release in North America on July 24th of 1985. 2 days later, the film also screened in Radio City Music Hall in New York. With a budget budgeted by the Disney executives at $25 million, the film production manager Don Hahn said in his documentary Waking Sleeping Beauty that it cost $44 million to produce the film. The $44 million budget made it the most expensive animated film ever to be made at the time. The film only grossed $21.3 million domestically. It resulted in a loss for Walt Disney Production and put the future of animation department in jeopardy, earning it the nickname "the film that almost killed Disney." Well, you can't blame the animators. Blame Katzenberg for being the butcher. If they let the film alone, let the people judge it, it might become a success. But of course, Katzenberg, wanted to be controlling the Mouse House. He didn't, and so he founded, along with Steven Spielberg and Steve Jobs of DreamWorks. Yeah, we know the whole story. Instead of the mouse, we have a big fat old good. But that'll be a story for another time, but let's continue, shall we? As a result, it was not distributed as home video release until the 1990s. Adding insult to more injury, adding more salt to the wound, the film was outgrossed by the Care Bears movie by $22.9 million domestically, which was released 4 months earlier by much smaller Canadian animation studio Nelvana. The film, however, was more successful outside North America, notably in France, where it had 3 million admissions and was the 5th most attended film of the year. The film was the last Disney animated film to be completed at the original animation building at Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, California. The animation department was moved to Airway facility in Glendale in December of 1984, and a following corporate restructuring eventually returned to Burbank Studio in the mid-1990s at a new facility. After that, Rotten Tomatoes had a 55%, but soon gained a cult following over the years. Which a lot of people talk about his dark atmosphere. Most people praise like his one critic here says, a rip-roaring tales of swords and sorcery, evil and revenge, magic and pluck and luck. And it takes us on a journey through a kingdom, some of more memorable characters in recent Disney films. If so. And one note also, involving he noted how involving the story was and felt the key to movies is the richness of characterization and how to best characters. I think the Horn King and a fuzzy little creature named Gurgi. Sorry. But of course, we got more. Charles Chaplin, also from the LA Times, wrote that the Black Cauldron lacks simplicity and clarity of great fairy tales or children's-sized wonder of Marty Sharp stories that became The Rescuers. Jeffrey Katzenberg, then chairman of Walt Disney Studios, was dismayed by the product and the animators believed that it lacked the humor, pathos, and fantasy which they had been so strong in Louis Alexander's work. The story had been once in a lifetime opportunity. It was heartbreaking to see such wonderful material wasted. Lloyd Alexander, the author of the books on which the film was based, had more complicated reaction of the film. First, I have to say, there is no resemblance between the film, the movie, and the book. Having said that, the movie itself is purely as a movie. I found to be very, very enjoyable. I have fun watching it. What I hope is that anyone who sees the movie will certainly enjoy it. But I also hope that they actually read the book. The book is quite different. It is a powerful, very moving story. And I think people would find a lot more depth in the book. As for home media, remember, they hadn't released on home media until the 1990s, which is its first VH release in 1997 in the UK, and then the US in 1998. As part of the Walt Disney's Masterpiece Collection, in a pan and scan transfer, 13 years after its theatrical release. The film did receive a DVD release back in non-anamorphic widescreen transfer in 2000, as part of Walt Disney's Gold Classic Collection line. There was even a game called Quest for the Black Cauldron and the 1952 Donald Duck short Trick or Treat. Who ever narrated that cartoon? Trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat for Halloween. Damn, that song's catchy. In 2008, Disney announced a special edition DVD release of the film in 2009. But in 2009, there was a release for the 25th anniversary set to release in September 14th of 2010 in the US and the UK, containing the original 2.351 anamorphic widescreen transfer and the new Witch's Challenge game, an unfinished deleted scene, and all the features in the 2000 DVD release. In 2019, the film was released 4K for the launch of Disney Plus on May 4th, 2021. The film was finally released on Blu-ray exclusively through the Disney Movie Club. But also in theme parks. Did you know that? In the theme parks, costume versions of the characters from the film were made for appearance in Disney Park and resorts, mostly in Fantasyland, during its promotional release of the Black Cauldron. But in 1981, Tokyo Disneyland opened Cinderella's Castle Mystery Tour, a walkthrough attraction which features the Horn King makes an appearance in the attraction. It was in operation until 2006. To tie in with the attraction's opening, a 14-day special event and the castle show, The Mystery of Cinderella's Castle, was featured on Cinderella's Castle forecourt stage, featuring Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy, and Princess Aurora. Prince Philip and the Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty during the battle against Maleficent's forces by Goofy, Donald, Philip, Aurora. A cameo appearance made by Creeper and other Disney villains. As for the game, there was also a video game. The video game The Black Cauldron was designed by L.O. of Sierra Online and released in 1986. It was shortly after the first King's Quest game. It also resembles the adventures in many ways, along with the Dark Crystal. It remains one of the only a few adventure games by Sierra to be based on films. In popular culture, the character Gurgi was also the inspiration of Andy Serkis's portrayal of Gollum in Lord of the Rings. So technically, Gurgi inspired Andy Serkis's portrayal of Gollum. So about Gurgi, we won't have this Golem from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Who knew? I said we owe Gurgi an apology then. He just Golem with fur. But yeah, people, to me, I remember seeing the Black Cauldron on the Disney Channel back in 2003 or 20. No, it's around 2003 or 2002. While eating pizza. Yeah, I was having a good life. And vanilla ice cream. Hey, combo. Yeah, try it. But yeah, it's when I saw the Corn King, his entrance with that music right there, that composition. Who wants to get scared of this shit, literally? And was the good kind. I was memorized. I don't think it was like the only time they showed the Black Cauldron in the Disney Channel. I could remember. I still remember watching TV. It was after school. I was eating pizza, some vanilla ice cream. I'm in the mini jugs, the medium size, not the tiny ones, but the medium sized good ones. It's a pizza from the gas station. That had good pizza there. Damn. If he was asking, wait, where do you get this? Artisan, West Virginia. If you know which pizza gas station I'm talking about that sells good pizza is near a supermarket, that's what I'm talking about. They had good pizza back in those days. I don't know if it's still there. I don't know. I might be planning to go to West Virginia during the holidays. I might stop by the old town. If that place is still there, I'm buying a pizza for the last after a long time. It's been like what, 16 years? Shit. Or more. But yeah, The Black Cauldron is an underrated film. It deserves the more love, and it's perfect to watch in October if you're into the dark tone. Especially Undead Army. Nice. But yeah, let me know what you think on the comments down below. What you think of The Black Cauldron? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Are you one of those fans that like this film during October? Is this one of your films you put in your October bucket list films? Of all the films you'll watch in October? Sorry. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below. Who's your favorite character? To me, the Horn King design was actually pretty good and dope. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below. And if you're new to the channel, remember to subscribe, hit the bell, like the video. And remember, we're aiming at our goal of 1 million subscribers, or at least 500k. Because we're on our 11th anniversary from 2013 to 2023 on May. And remember, if you go visit Perico Comic Con, I'll be right there with my art stand at Artist Alley. Along with my colleagues from the university, we'll be there as well. Which will be a pretty difficult time because on that day I'm maybe planning to go see the Super Mario movie as well at night. So hey, I have to do a review on that. And don't worry. Warning, watch the movie because I might do a review. There might be spoilers, so don't bitch with it. But until then, have a great day, everybody, and see you next time. And let me know what other film or show or episode you want me to do a review on. Comment down below. Until then, see you next time, people. Peace out.